Hello, everyone out in Internet land. Hi. Welcome to the 33rd episode of the Holy Shift Show. This is a place where we gather together to get through these shifting hits the fan times with a little bit more levity, play, and support. Hi, my name is Elaine Nieberding, and I'm hanging out from Bel Air, Maryland. Spell that M-E-R-R-Y-L-A-N-D. I hope you decide in many of the things that you're doing today and every day to allow in more play and fun. You know, we were all born that way, laughing spontaneously, and then a lot of our joy has gotten conditioned right on out of us. But today we're going to have fun talking about the gifts of Blab. Now, everybody who is joining me here on the panel, certainly I have come to know has a gift of gab. But today we're going to be talking about what we have come to appreciate about this new medium called Blab. Blab. And before I talk about Blab, for those who happen to be watching and know little or nothing about it, I want to introduce my panelists. And so just briefly tell us who you are and maybe how many days you've been on Blab and whether you've just been on shows or whether you've actually hosted some shows. Mark Traphagen, I'm going to start with you. Hello, Mark.
All right, and of course I'm here in a hotel room in Boston, Massachusetts today for the Inbound conference, and immediately as you introduce me and say you're going to bring me on, my air conditioner pops on. So I don't know, I hope you're not hearing, it's a very noisy, rattly air conditioner. Yeah, I'm here in Boston, for so many places I travel. For the Inbound 15 conference, I'm Mark Traphagen. I work with Stone Temple Consulting, stonetemple.com. We're a digital marketing agency that works with major brands across the country. I've been on Blab for, I think, 17 days now. I check because it shows you in your profile. Amassed in that short time over 600 followers there. I've done shows, conducted shows, hosted shows, been on shows, showed shows, tweeted shows, and been pretty amazed by what I see there. So I'm looking forward to our chat today. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you. Nazim, you are next on my film strip here. Hey, Nazim.
Hi, I'm Nazim Beltran from Casa Chiesi, and I live in Italy, Milan, Italy. I've been on Blab for 33 days and done two shows, and one was mobile, which was quite chaotic, but loving the platform, to say the least.
Okay, I'm so glad you're here. Thanks for joining in. And of course, every time I see you coming on, I say, love that bookcase. Hard to forget. And now on over to Phil and Sue Aston. Welcome. This is the first time we're on a Hangout on Air together, and this is actually a Crowdcast Hangout on Air. Hi.
Ooh, yeah, fantastic. I'm not quite sure how many days I've been on Blab. I think I've been on it a couple of weeks. I hosted some shows, and I've been a guest on some shows. And Sue, today was your first Blab experience,
yes,
wasn't it?
My first Blab experience, and it wasn't too bad. Bad.
No,
it was okay.
Yeah, it wasn't too Blab. Yeah. But I work for a digital marketing company focusing on the tourism area, and I also photographer and videographer and sound engineer. And Sue?
I'm a violinist and composer, and I'm currently working on my Diary of a Coastal Composer project.
Thank you. So glad you're here. What a rich combination of people with different interest backgrounds and, you know, places from different places on the planet. And now the man from Jupiter. Hey, Ron.
Hi, Elaine. I'm from Jupiter, Florida, Ron Snayberger. I've been on Blab, I don't know how many days. I think I've been on like 30 Blabs or a little bit more. And it's interesting, and I enjoy it. And I'm just here watching the comment tracker for Elaine, and well, it's the Crowdcast tracker. And so if you got questions and you're watching, feed them in, and I'll relay them, and we'll add some more comments to the conversation.
Thank you so much, Ron. I appreciate you've been helping me out for my last couple shows, and also join me in some of my premiere escapades over in the new playground that we call Blab. And now another woman, I love it, she's got short hair just like me. Hi, Susan Finch.
Good morning, Elaine. Thank you for inviting me.
So tell us about a little about what you do and how many days you've been on Blab. Just tidbit.
I've been on about 2 weeks, and I've been a guest more than I have hosted because I'm actually kind of slammed right now with work, so I don't have the time to set them up. But I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying the spontaneity and getting reacquainted with old friends from G Plus and some other venues that I haven't seen in a while. So this has been a lot of fun. But normally what I'm doing, I'm a graphics solution, social media implementer, you name it. I make you look good online. That's what I do.
Okay, thank you.
Uh-huh.
You got your words finally chosen and honed to deliver in a short period of time. Way to go, Susan. Okay, so here we are. For those that are watching, you are watching a program that is being recorded live on, today is September 8th. It's the day after Labor Day in 2015. And this is being recorded on a YouTube, as a YouTube Hangout on Air. It's viewable via YouTube. It'll be in my Elaine Nieberding YouTube channel. It's viewable on Google+. And about 2 months ago, some of us Hangout hosts discovered there's a whole new platform called Crowdcast that can be a Hangout wrapper. So this video can actually be watched by people outside of YouTube or outside of Google+, and easily access an engaging environment over on this thing called Crowdcast. So you can see on my lower third here, I say, engage via Crowdcast, and I invite anybody who's watching, even if you're watching this on a replay, go see the experience within the Crowdcast wrapper. You can sign in from your login through Twitter, through Google+, through Facebook, and even through just a plain old email. And the reason this is helpful is for people who are producing shows on Hangouts on Air, they can expand their reach and engageability of folks for Hangouts on Air, and it's not just a Google Plus audience. Many Hangout hosts have been jumping on over to this new playground, Blab, because, wow, all the Twitter folks can watch and tweet on out the programs, but I want to weave some folks at least back on over to watching Hangouts because there is a different kind of technological capability that's available here. Hangouts aren't going to go away, and I'm an and kind of girl. So with that, perhaps some folks will go on over there. And poor me, I'm not as experienced in the using the Crowdcast features as I am the Hangout features. So what you see on the screen is that I've just time-stamped this part of the YouTube video. And so for those of you who are watching this on via Crowdcast, when you hit that question, which you'll see, you can jump to that area, and since I missed a little late, you can just back up your YouTube viewer. So now I would like to just talk a little bit about what Blab is. Blab is another social platform. It is in beta, which means it's brand new. It's been around only a couple months, and the folks who have been flocking there have mainly been folks in social media and internet marketing. We're helping work out the bugs, playing with it. And so a lot of the conversations are kind of about social media and internet marketing, and my hope is that those discussions and the folks that will use that medium will certainly grow, but it is a video platform that is very easy to access because the bandwidth required to jump on in is not what it is of Hangouts. For those who are watching a Blab, you will actually see a program largely with a square and, say, 4 different people or participants joining in live. For the programs that are created, they can be saved and replayed. The host of the program has the option to record or not record the program and even pause the recording during the operation. One thing I would like to say that is, if you know the Twitter handle of folks that you know and love in social media land. If you type in Blab, like over here, if you type in blab.im/laughingelaine, that's my new Twitter handle, you will go to a page which will show you their Blab replays as well as their upcoming shows. And then you can simply push a button that says subscribe, and then you can join in either live on those programs or watch them replay as well. So that's a little bit of a Blab overview. I'm sure you'll be gleaning more about the features of Blab as the conversation with our guests unfold. Now I want to simply mention that for those who are over on Crowdcast, I have listed under the questions or topic areas about 8 different areas where I'm hoping my panelists who are here might offer some reflections about the gifts. So those different areas are the sparking of creativity by Blab, the early adopter experience on Blab, experiencing relationships, new relationships, old relationships, networking, tech questions or the tech environment as it evolves, time use and productivity. So many people are saying, gotta watch out here, Blab can be a real time suck. Repurposing, that's one other area. Just hanging out, and then also the evolution of the platform in collaborative spirit with the great folks at Team Blab. And what I would like to start out now is by talking about the creativity sparking. Hold on, let me go to the done answering thing. Gifts of Blab, creativity sparking. And I'm just going to invite one of my panelists to raise their hand if you have something to contribute in that area. Ron wants to jump in. Maybe he wants me to acknowledge the folks who are here. Go ahead, Ron.
Well, I nothing about that, but Melanie Hall is here on her Android. Heidi says hi to you by way of Margarita, and she said she couldn't participate today, but she's thinking of you. So that's all I had to say. I wanted to get that in so you could know that they were there.
Thank you. And we really do appreciate all the folks who come on over. I dropped my little card. To what I call the Flocker Room. When I started my Holy Shift Show series here on Hangouts on Air in October of 2014, my first show was called F Word, so I weave a lot of F word play into my show. So welcome to the Flocker Room, folks. Okay, who would like to address a gift they've experienced or see the potential for over on Blab about creativity sparking? Somebody?
Hello?
Mark.
Go on, Mark.
Okay, wasn't sure if we were supposed to raise our hand or
Okay.
wave wildly or what. Shout. We should shout at the
Mark,
needed microphone.
go.
All right.
The clock is ticking.
Take a stand. You mentioned that there's a lot of marketers and social media people on the conference, which is certainly true. And you're in social media, new social media platforms, you're always going to find that. But we're already seeing a lot of people using it very creatively, and not just for outright marketing. If you go onto the Blab homepage, and this is one of the things that's wonderful about it, is discovery. This is one of the things that Hangouts never really got right in terms of just being able to browse and discover. So you can go to the homepage, you can sort by topics that you want to see, filter. You can look at shows that are live right now. You can go to a tab and look at scheduled shows. And certainly find something that you're interested in, just jump in. And people do. An example is last night, I just decided to host a chat about a topic that a lot of people know I'm interested in. It has nothing to do with marketing. It's just something to do with my life. And I said, hey, if you ever wondered about this, I'm here to talk about it. Elaine, you dropped in for a little bit on that. And through an hour and a half, people, a constant flow of people just kept coming through, and many of them came into the chat, some just talked in the text chat, but that's happened every single time. And I had to cut it off at an hour and a half because I had to get on the plane at 5 in the morning to come where I am now. But aside from what I'm doing, seeing things like people are doing game shows. They're playing, Cards Against Humanity live. There's a guy that's been every night that's got a very popular thing. Just tell me a joke. He's just in there and he just runs a little wacky. It's a totally disorganized contest, where you come in, you tell him a joke. If he thinks it's funny, you stay in the chat. If he doesn't like it, he just X's you. Like he doesn't. It's like the Gong Show. Bam, you're gone. So people are doing all kinds of interesting things. They're playing with it, which I love to see.
It occurs to me that folks who have been doing a regular Hangout show over on Google Plus and YouTube, now over on Blab, they might feel the permission to not only veer into new areas, have a couple shows, or even do shows where, you know what, you just do a show when you feel like you have the time. You just go on out there. Maybe it's not scheduled at the same time every week. Yes, that has its value and purpose, but I know for me and the way my life works, balancing doing social media things and caring for my beloved senior parents, sometimes stuff comes up with them. And so I'm not too likely to schedule too many regularly scheduled shows, but I feel the absolute freedom now to go in and say, I feel like talking about XYZ today. Let's see who else will show up. Anyway, I'd now like to welcome Chef Dennis Littley. He joined us a few minutes after our start. And Chef Dennis, you were so much of a pioneer over for us, over here on Google Plus with Hangouts, building a huge following and helping us to get to know interesting people and each other. And now you have this new medium over on Blab. How long have you been over there, Chef?
I think my card says 31 days, 30 or 31 days, if I read it right. But it's been quite a ride, and I am loving the hell out of it because of the engagement factor of meeting all kinds of new people. And again, that's the best part of social media. If you forget that social media is about being social, then you got no business being on there. Because to me, I mean, that's where it's all at. The interactions, engaging. I met 2 new people just before I came on here. There was a No Kids Hungry show going on. It's like a marathon, so I jumped in there and talked to those guys for a while. And it's just wonderful to see people coming in that maybe we've talked to online but never seen, that are now have the ability to jump in and talk to us. So that's the great part about it.
So there will be whole new audiences.
Oh,
and I want to get back to Phil and Sue, because I knew you wanted to address the whole thing about creativity sparking. So much of your work involves the arts, but about this as a medium for sparking creativity and things that you felt yourself. Shoot, hello.
I think one of the things I'm seeing for Blab is a place to try out shows that I'm not ready to try out on Hangouts on Air yet, because it's so I can have an idea and just schedule one for tomorrow and just see what happens. There's no big ordeal to set it up. It just goes live. People will interact with it. I'll get a feel for what people think, and then if it feels like it might be worth doing again, I can reschedule it as and when it fits in with my schedule. Whereas Hangouts always feels like more about turning a giant ship around mid-ocean. It's more kind of, it feels like it needs to be scripted, although it's not, but it feels like there's more planning and prep and stuff that needs to be done.
And in terms of that creative discovery, you can try something out on Blab. You don't have to record it. And now, if you are recording the program, you have the opportunity, after the replay has been processed, to actually click it off so it's not available. If you thought the quality wasn't good enough for you really wanted to have folks to see, apparently you can move it from your replay stream. So,
that
makes it valuable.
It's a good thing. It's very good for experimentation. I think, like Mark was saying, there are people using it in ways that they wouldn't have thought of in Hangout land. Like, you know, the guy telling the jokes and exiting people. That would be just too rude on Hangouts to jettison people, wouldn't it? Really. But it works, I think, on Blab. And Mark will know what I mean when I say this. But I think Blab is almost like the future of radio, because I do find that I listen more to Blabs than I do watch them. I have them on in the background. If it's a group of people I respect and they're talking about a subject I'm interested in, I'll just have it on in the background while I get on with what other things that I'm doing. Whereas at Hangout on Air, I'm going to watch it. It's a visual experience in many ways because you can do much more with it because of the quality of the audio and video. I know Sheffy does his cooking shows, and that's a visual thing, but I find a lot of the longer blabs I'll just have on in the background and listen to them. I'm pop back to see if a new person has come in and I want to see who they are. But I listen to blabs like the radio. That's what I found myself doing.
Interesting you say that, Phil, because Sean Puri, who's the CEO of Blab, said on a town hall the other night that they're after the podcasting audience. In part, that's because, I don't know if we noted this, but one of the cool things, again, if you record a show, after the show, within a few minutes, you get an email with a link to not only download the video MP4 file, but an MP3 of the audio of the show. So you could instantly, edit it, repurpose it as an actual podcast. But they also believe this may be the future of podcasting, where many podcast shows are done on Blab as a live show. So you have that video component. You can see people if you want. You can easily pop people in and out. Anybody can join the show, but you also have the audio play going on. So it'll be interesting to see how they develop that.
Right, and I'm taking just a moment to just highlight, since Mark started talking about podcasting, I'm now just kind of time-stamping this topical area as tech equipment, play, and discovery, because now we are truly seeing podcasters say, hey, folks will be able to see me live, not just listen to me, or they have the option. And for folks who have been doing primarily video shows, now the folks at Blab are making it so easy for us to repurpose the content into podcasts. So that is great. So who else wants to pick on about this next? Hi, Susan.
I completely agree with that. And we were talking about the quality and the differences between Hangouts and Blab as far as the resolution, how intense that the visuals are. When it's lower res from the start, it's already friendlier for repurposing. It's friendlier for everybody because it uses less data. It's just a quicker download. And the words become even more important. And what I've noticed is some of the best shows are the ones that take that view of this as a call-in radio show with video, where it is that, move them through, move it on, keep it moving a little faster and a little lighter, less structured, but still along that same, we know at this point, this is the top of the hour with the introduction, here's our station identification break, here's the wrap-up, and filling in between with whatever. But it allows you a lot more freedom, whereas Hangouts, as we know, and YouTube, when I'm doing for YouTube, I go as high-res as possible because sometimes things get tossed up on bigger screens later, and you can't add to the resolution on something. You can always dumb it down, but that requires more editing capabilities. This makes it so easy because, like Chef was saying, here's this beautiful little packaged email for repurposing. Everything's there to embed, to audio. I don't have to do anything other than copy-paste. It's beautiful.
Yeah, that is beautiful. I'd now like to shift our topic a little bit to the whole thing about the way we experience relationship with people. Obviously, Hangouts on Air and YouTube programs that we've been hosting helps people to know, like, and trust us. They see our movements, our gestures, and that kind of connection evokes different kind of responses than just listening. We engage more of our senses, but this medium of Blab, because the topics are going to be varied, and folks who may want to do, who may want to ease on into new video arenas can do it easily without a big, investment, so to speak. They have a new arena in which to experience their relationships, both with old friends and new friends and networking. And Nazim, I'm going to just invite you. How have you been experiencing
Well,
old friendships anew on
exactly.
Blab?
That's a good point. That's a good point. This Blab for me was the summer in Tuscany. I was stuck in the countryside with very low connection, going nuts because I was loving the platform and meeting new people. And then towards the end of the summer, I remember talking to Chef Dennis. And it's like, you got to check this. And then seeing the peeps, the old relationships from Google Plus coming over to this platform, embracing it, loving it. And so that's very special in the sense that, and at the same time, there's people, when you would feel a little bit of a cringe when people are like, oh, Hangouts, or no, it's what I was, each instrument, the more instruments we have, the better, in my opinion. So Hangouts is specific to Hangouts and has its purposes. Blab is a whole new different world. It has a very strong connection with Twitter, which Kazakiezi, Twitter was not a very big, and it's really increased meeting new people and also seeing the old, the peeps from before coming over to this platform and loving it. So I think that's, and from the point of view of relationships and engagement, and I'm super, super excited about it. But as I said before, it's another instrument to have. The more instruments we have, the better off we are.
Yeah. So Mark, you've mentioned before that there are people you've known in other arenas that now you've seen them on Blab, and now you've been to experience relationship anew because of this new medium. Do you want to speak to that?
Yeah, I mean, it's been magic. The first day I was on it, 16 days ago, I happened to see a show, and I think it was just because I saw it shared out on Twitter, and that's what got me into it, by a guy who, from a business standpoint, is very important to me, but he's very famous, he's very well known, and I've kind of engaged with him on Twitter, but I would be pretty sure he wouldn't remember my name or know who I was. Popped in his show very easily when he opened the seats, got chatting with him, we hit it off, and now he knows me. And so not only when I go in one of his shows now will he see my name in the text chat and say, hey Mark, if you're available, come on in, let's talk. But here at Inbound 15, where I am in Boston, the conference this week, he's here, and he's already reached out to Twitter and said, let's connect. So that's a real-world relationship coming in. I want to bring in one more thing, just while we're talking about relationships, just very serendipitously. Yesterday, there was a study being passed around on social media that I read, a sociological study that was done about online relationships and how, because a lot of people assume, social media, put down your phone, it's not real, the relationships aren't there, get outside, go to a real party. Yes, you should do that. But what the study found, counterintuitive to that, is that many relationships on social media they do have the same signs of reality to us and importance to us as relationships, but the highest, maybe not surprisingly, was video chat, what we're doing right now. Mm-hmm. That, in fact, that was found to correlate almost exactly the same. So what we're doing right here has almost the same impact on us as people as if we were literally sitting around a table.
And I want to now jump on over to Ron Snayberger, who's been my comment wrangler over on Crowdcast. And what are you noticing there, Ron?
Ray Hill's joined us, and he agrees with Susan that it's totally perfect for a talk show format, given the ease to bring people in and out. And he said he hasn't seen so much blabbing about a new platform since Google Plus. And Melanie Hall says, Blab must develop the Android app. I want that very much. I think the reason Android is kind of lagging behind is because it's much easier for the iOS format to develop programs for it. With the Android, there are so many different phones and ways to use it that it's a little harder to develop the app for Android. Somebody else might know more about, probably does know more about that than I do.
Yeah, and speaking of relationships, I want to thank Melanie Hall. I think it was probably through Melanie Hall, who's a Hangout host over here on Google Plus, She does a show called Lights, Camera, HOA that invites people to come on and get on-screen camera experience. And so she is worth following. Hi, Melanie, I'm glad you're here. And also Ray Hiltz, he has a weekly marketing roundup and has a grand roundup of articles, things related to venturing into new territory. This is what we're doing here on Blab, and also Blab itself. So check out Ray's marketing roundup. It's great. Ray, thank you for coming and commenting. Okay, so let's shift this on over to, let's talk about the experience after I mark. Okay, I'm practicing as a Hangout host using some of these time-stamping functions in Crowdcast, and now I'm bringing up another topic, and that is the development of a platform in conjunction with the developers. In this case, they're called Team Blab, and what the developers do to build a sense of community that then ends up a platform blooming. That then ends up a platform blooming with the contribution of the whole community. They have been listening closely. And Chef Dennis, you've been on quite a few weeks now. And what have you been noticing about the improvements, you know, in the last week with the capabilities? And have you had your own discussions with Team Blab? I'm sure they are aware of you.
Yeah, I have talked with them because they're very responsive. I mean, I've had a couple of issues, and I have pinged them in the comments, and they've taken care of them in a matter of minutes, and then we started dialogue. And I did talk. I was in one of their town hall meetings and got to talk to them live. So that was really nice. But yeah, I just find it's been a long time since I've had that level of interaction with the management. Like when Google Plus first started, I had that, but only I had it with people that really couldn't affect anything. They had a manager, and he was talking to me, and he was great, and he was doing things, but he really couldn't make any changes or do anything. Now when I'm talking to these guys, they're actually, I mean, they'll tell you, no, we're not going to do that, or oh, that's a way down the road, or that we are going to do it, but at least they're not just, you know that they're actually going to be able to do something, or at least tell you they can't. So I find that refreshing. But again, we're in beta. There's how many thousands of people on here. It's a limited market. They have that ability to do that because they're not dealing with as many people. As soon as it blows up, you know, who knows when we'll ever get to talk to them again.
That will be a different experience. That really will be.
Yeah, but I have to say that during the summer, I mean, Brittany, who is very keen on the team, she would jump in. And, you know, it was really, that interaction kind of surprises you because at Google Plus with Hangouts, we never had that thing. We were always kind of like, Ronnie Brinzer would, you know, we would ask him, okay, you know the team, can you like, and it was kind of like, but over here, I mean, you know, also the CEO and the other guy who's involved, and they show up and they respond, and it's like, and I asked them for an API, and I said, no, it's down the road, stuff like that. It's amazing. Amazing.
They're doing two things, I think, very smart, and doing many things very smart. But in terms of what we're talking about right now in the community development and the development of the product itself, one is that they are not going feature crazy. They are adding new things in, but everything they add is very intentional and very centered around the main intention, which is chat and the conversation. They want this to be a conversation creator. And so some of the things people ask for when I'm in some of these town hall shows with Sean and the other developers, you know, they say, that's a great feature, that's really cool, I know you love that over on Google Plus or you love that on some other platform. We're not going to do that because that will take away from the conversation and the chat. That's one thing. The second thing that they're doing that's very interesting is they're iterating in response to watching the community, what the community does with the product. So they're not just taking a list of feature requests and saying we like that one, we don't like that one, but they're popping in, they are watching a lot the active shows and the active users. And they've said several of the new things they've done have been in response to just seeing, oh, look at how they're using that. They could use this. Let me give you an example of that. We commented a moment ago about how it's like a radio show. Susan said that. It's like a call-in show. Well, guess what? They saw that, and last week, show hosts got a new thing where instead of just when there's an empty seat, whoever grabs it first is automatically in, multiple people can pop on that, and the host gets a list of tiles of who's calling in. They literally call that calling in. And so the metaphor is right there. You can look at their profiles and decide, oh, maybe the third person down might be better qualified to speak to this question. I'm going to bring her in. So that whole thing of iterating while watching is really, really interesting.
Now, speaking of new features or other features or working with the developer, there is a community over on Google Plus of Crowdcast users. And the developer of Crowdcast, a young guy named Sai Hussain, has been communicating with us fairly frequently. Now, he doesn't have as big a development team, I don't think, as big as Blab at all. But he's added some amazing features, and I want to demonstrate one of those now. Two of the folks who have joined in over on Crowdcast, Melanie Hall and Ray Hiltz, have asked questions, which I see them now in a little panel to my right-hand side. And they have actually built something in allowing me to invite that person to come on into this Hangout. So I'm going to invite Melanie in, and then I'm going to invite Ray in. And if you're camera ready or you want to jump on in, let's see how that works. At this point, I'm now just kind of, I'm sidestepping and demonstrating that developers can be responsive, and sometimes features can show up in these mediums that kind of surprise us. So here's an invitation to Melanie, and let's see if she answers. And then I will also mention that we are now at 2:37, so I'm actually going to be winding up this show not too long from now, because we're going to end it, and then at 3 o'clock Eastern Daylight Time, we're going to be continuing the conversation with any or many of the panelists here who would like to. And once again, to find that, you go to Blab.im/laughingelaine, and you'll be able to subscribe and watch it live or replay. Okay, so Melanie didn't come in, and she did ask a question, but I'm going to jump on over and see if Ray wants to join us. Perchance, Ray. So Ray's question was, are you finding you're getting a different audience on Crowdcast and Blab than you have on G+? Practice. Am I finding I'm getting a different audience on Crowdcast and Blab than I have on G+? Yes, I'm gaining people who haven't heard of me before. I expect I'll be actually getting more people showing up on Blab shows that I do because they're seeing me on Blab. But I'm also gaining a whole lot more followers than I've ever seen me over on Google Plus because of the wonderful Twitter, tweet out this show, get others to to come, and then sometimes friends come, and that's a wonderful feature. Okay, so I don't see. Oh, here is Ray. Hey.
Hi guys.
Hey.
Hey,
the
Ray.
man with the sunny golden background. I love it. Thank you for joining us.
Good to see you, Nazim.
So share with us, as we're winding the show rather to a close, in whatever you've either seen or if you've been on a couple Blabs, what are some of the gifts or what is a gift that you really noticed?
I think the one thing I noticed at the very first was the spontaneity, and just that you open a Blab and all of a sudden you've got company. It's just like opening your door and having an open house. That was cool. I like that very much, and I love the ease to bring people in and out of the conversation. So it's always kind of fast-paced. that was great, and the simplicity, of course, of getting in and creating one.
But what we've been able to demonstrate right here is, on Crowdcast, you can bring people in who aren't part of an original Hangout on Air panel. If they're asking a question, you think it's a viable question, and you're going to cross your fingers.
Well, thanks for introducing that to me, because I didn't know that.
You can do it here. Now, as a host, I mean, I can still butt people out of the Hangout if I want to. I have that control
Kick
feature.
Nazim out. He's a troublemaker. I don't know.
Anyway, we are at 2:41. This show that started on the top of the hour about 40 minutes ago has gone very quickly. So I want to run through my panel guests right here and hope when I bring them on up for a last thought or reflection, as well as an invitation to come back over to the next show. You could call it the after party or the continuation of the conversation over on Blab. Let me just start over left to right in my film strip, the way I see it. Chef Dennis.
Hey. Well, I'm happy to have been here with you, and again, sorry I was late, but I'm still loving Google Plus. And what was the question?
Oh, just final thoughts and reflections, because I got about 4 minutes left,
Okay,
and I want to be a Hangout host with focus who actually ends the show on time.
You got it. I'm just loving the opportunity to do these new formats, so keep trying them, see what happens, and have fun.
Okay. Mark.
Yeah, I think with Blab, because of what we've been talking about, it's so easy. The barrier to entry is so low. If you have any interest in doing video, what we're doing, or just meeting people and chatting, you're not afraid to come on and be a face on air. Blab is your chance to try it out. If Hangouts have been too intimidating to you, Blab is a great place to experiment, and you can just go in, put up an interesting topic, and sit there for a few minutes, and people come in because they're browsing that homepage and looking for things. People have said that this is their TV now. They don't watch TV anymore in the evening. They're on Blab. So try it out, experiment, have fun, see what it does for you.
Okay, thank you, Mark. Nazim.
Well, I'm super happy to see all the people that I'm familiar with on Google Plus embracing Blab. And it's really a great platform. It's a little bit addictive, so you got to keep that fine line between I got to get some work done and I got to spend time on this platform. But the people I'm meeting there is great, and I invite everybody to come over.
And I'm going to start with Phil and Sue and really ask Sue to talk because she hardly got 2 peeps in. And I'm sure I'm going to be getting together with you again soon. But final reflections or just a nice point that you want to share, Sue?
Well, I think it's a very exciting new platform, and I'm just wondering what will be the next new thing after Blab. I'm thinking ahead already. What would it be?
I think Crowdcast is very, very impressive. And me and Sue were talking before we came on air that we think Crowdcast could be the bridge that takes our more creative Hangouts on air to a bigger audience. I think Blab is ideal for creating relationships with our Twitter audience, who before have only had 140 characters to get a word in, and now we can talk for a lot longer. But I think Crowdcast has got a lot of bells and whistles that would take us into the Facebook world, won't it?
Yeah, that's great. Susan.
Yep, the thing that I like, I love Twitter. And so the exposure I'm getting to new people and opening up new conversations, I enjoy the Blab, but it's the after conversations that have just been a gift. And so I do, invite you guys to explore this and find new ways to use it. Think about it. Don't think about, no, that won't work. So what? So what if it doesn't work? Who cares? Give it a shot, because it's a lot of fun, and it might just get your creative juices going for the next great thing, whether it's Crowdcast, whether Blab is here to stay for a long, long time. But get thinking, get creating.
Okay, I'm going to jump back over to Ron. Ron, you have been on Blab. You've also been watching our comments, and I wanted to thank all those who have shown up over in the Crowdcast arena today. But last thoughts as well as overview of commenters and visitors.
Yeah, Margarita said, I wonder if the interactions are different between Blab and on Hangout. But my comment is you really have to watch. You can really get hung up on time on Blab. And I think as a host, if you limit your Blab to 30 minutes, 45 minutes, and say, okay, that's the end, we're going to have another one next week, I think that's a good way to go about it.
I think that's a way of being kind to yourself. If a conversation is very engaging, I know it can go on a couple hours. Right, Mark? We have seen that over the past couple evenings in some deep talk that has gone over there. Quite amazing. And Ray, you were last to jump in, but I'm going to let you kind of close on out this show with your sunny persona, because you did write this great thing, inspiring people to really look at when you're entering into new territory. How do you approach that? Go ahead, Ray.
Yeah, well, as I had mentioned in the newsletter, that you can approach it one of two ways. Of course, it's all about fear, change, right? So I think if you're not sure, I like to dive in and find out what it's all about. At least then I can make a decision. And the same thing happened with Blab. Same thing happened with Google Plus when that first came. So I find the unknown kind of exhilarating, challenging. So my advice is just dive in, Forget putting your little toe in there at first or whatever and waiting until it gets that uncomfortable spot. Just dive in and get it over with, and then you'll know whether you enjoy it or not.
Yeah. So that brings us to the close of Holy Shift Show 33. And we're going to continue this conversation, hopefully with some of our panelists over on Blab. We'll be firing that show up in about 10 minutes. So please join us on over there. In the meantime, for those of you who happen to catch this over on my YouTube channel, if you're ever going to a YouTube program and the host has put up in the top of the description, you can watch this over on Crowdcast. They'll put the link up, just like I will be doing, and you can experience the same show within the Crowdcast wrapper. You can add questions, answer polls, continue to add to the comment stream, and that's a wonderful thing about the Crowdcast feature. So I hope some of my Hangout hosts who are continuing to do shows on Hangouts will with me help promote the Crowdcast arena, because I think, as you've said, it's going to be one beautiful bridge. With that, let's all go out laughing. My Hangout panelists, take a deep breath in. Take a deep breath in, and on the exhale, just laugh, smile. Here we go. So long, folks. See you over on